Hello buddy, I'm Dutch, and if you like hiking tips, fun adventures, and great gear, hit like and subscribe to join my vlog journey. And if you'd like to be notified when we upload a new video, click that bell as well. All right, let's go. Hello everybody, I'm Dutch, and well, today we're gonna do something fun. We're gonna take a deep dive into what technology that I had the first time I'm going to thru hike the Appalachian Trail, and now that I'm looking to do it again, what technology is out there. And this is going to be for navigation and for communication. So, how much has really changed on the Appalachian Trail from 2003 when I did it the first time till now? Honestly, there really isn't that much difference in gear, such as your backpack, the clothing, shoes. Shoes really, it's disappointing that shoes have not gotten better. They still hurt my feet. However, things that have changed is certainly hammocks have gotten way better. But another thing that has gotten better is the technology for navigation and also for communication. So one thing about technology is, for the most part, whatever it is today is the best it's ever been. And in 2003, we had amazing breakthroughs, and it was the best that it had ever been. And with that, we had the emergence of the internet was, much more widespread. Communication with email had became a lot more accepted, and this really isn't that long ago. However, what we did not have, at least not in a widespread manner, is the cell phones. And that is certainly the biggest difference. Today, you could call for an Uber and pick you up, and so instead of hitching back to the trail town, or you could call Uber Eats. And that's certainly not something I'm gonna partake in because I'm really kind of cheap. But the cell phone has impacted in everybody's life in every way possible. And certainly it has impacted the way people thru hike nowadays. So for navigation, we used to use maps. I don't think people use maps anymore, but here was my maps. And I paid like $250. There's some guidebooks in here that you didn't have to carry. Every state would have a different format, such as this is Mount Rogers area, and these are the Pennsylvania maps. Mount Rogers area doesn't have, it's only printed on one side, whereas the Pennsylvania ones is printed on both sides, and some of them are color, some of them aren't. So we go, oh, nope. I take that back. Here, the Pennsylvania one is completely blank on the backside, but it really got separated from state to state, maybe a little bit from region, because I think that Massachusetts and Connecticut wind up being on the same map. But of course, I didn't have to carry all of these maps. What I did was I would take sections and I would have them mail dropped to me. And so we would only be talking 2 or 3 of these maps at a time until I get to the next town to pick up the next mail drop, which really isn't that bad. 2 or 3 of these is pretty darn light, but there's something about a map. First of all, it's certainly more reliable, and it's beneficial to be able to see the area around you. But honestly, it really wasn't that useful. And when I open this up and I look at this, you can see this has been tattered from years of use, but when you open this up, I really didn't care about whether or not I was going right or left. I only cared about whether or not I was going up or down. And that's why the only thing I would ever really look at is the profile map. And the profile map would show me exactly where I am on the trail. I would count the number of hills that I'm taking on, and it would also show me how many miles it is to water, road crossings, towns, shelters, things of that nature. And really, those are the things that are important to you when you're out there on your thru hike. So 90% of this map is completely wasted, and they are quite heavy when you start adding them up, when you're using only 10% of the map. So what I did was, after I got done thru hiking, I took that lesson and I started printing out. I would just take photocopies of the profile, and then I would laminate it. The way I laminated it was I would take 2 panels I would stick them together, and I would tape the perimeter, and then I would take packaging tape. This works amazingly well to keep it light and also to keep it waterproof. I carried these things in my front pocket when it rained, and well, for the most part, I see one of these. This one looked like it's gotten pretty beat up, but I could still use this if I really had to. The only other thing I wound up doing after that is, one thing, you go and you pull this out of your pocket and you're really not sure. First of all, could be upside down. When you turn it upside down, it gives a completely different perspective on it. So I wanted to make it so you could quickly and easily see which way is right side up. Then also, I open it up and I have to find where I'm at, but first I gotta find which side I'm on. So to make that very easy, I started using highlighter, and I would make one side pink and the other side yellow. And that way, you know, you would get used to opening up, looking at the pink, you could see where you're at. And if you go and you just count the number of ups and downs, when you go and you see a certain dip come, you know, hey, I must be at that dip right there. So it actually is your GPS because you are able to pinpoint exactly where you are on the trail. So I'm still thinking about taking, certainly not this mess, but I'm still thinking about printing out, and I'm sure these days you can print out just the profiles. And this way, if I'm not so dependent on my phone, I don't have to keep turning my phone on to go and find where I'm at. I'll make my batteries last longer. If I really use these to track how far it is to where I'm going and where I'm at, I will only have to turn on my phone maybe once or twice a day. So these are certainly, they weigh grams and they might be worth it. And it also makes for a great backup. What if my phone breaks? What if my battery goes dead? You know, I'm sure I'll be able to find somebody else that I could probably ask to use their phone, but this makes it so I wouldn't have to depend on anybody else. I really would love to hear what you guys think. Do you think these are worthwhile to go and produce? I got very used to using them, and I think for what they weigh, they're worthwhile, and I only have to carry a couple because I'm gonna plan on still using mail drops. The reason I wanna use mail drops, mostly I think that a lot of the food is gonna be overpriced, particularly over this next year. And if I can buy bulk and have it shipped to me, it will save me money, particularly since there's gonna be 2 of us hiking. So here's real quick, the other thing that we used back then. This is from the Appalachian Trail Companion, and this would give you all the different miles, and then they put in like little codes in here, such as, let's see, this one, Ashley Gap US 50, and then there's R, L, and M, which those stand for road, lodging, and meals that you could acquire at that place. So it's actually, I remember very well going to this place with a good friend. So anyhow, as a matter of fact, on the same subject of the profile map, my good friend of mine is Dave Miller, and he wrote Appalachian Pages, and he came out with a guide. It might be coming obsolete now, or maybe people still use this, I'm not certain, but he had the wisdom to put the profile map in there. He is a thru hiker. He knows that the profile map is so important to us. But now I got some even bigger fun to go over with you, and that is communication. So, as I mentioned, cell phones had not taken place or had not really evolved to be widespreadly, and you couldn't have cell service up on top of the mountains for sure. And actually, even the years followed as cell phones became more accepted. They were kind of like taboo on the trail. Like people would say, I go to the woods to try and get away from technology, so you shouldn't immerse yourself in technology. And I can kind of see the point in that, but it has invaded our life like no other technology has. But what did we have? Well, this is something, it was, like I said, the technology that you have at the moment is the best there is, and it's really an amazing thing. And this was amazing technology. This weighs over a pound, and it was my communication, and it was how I wrote my trail journal when I would go and send it in an email to my wife, and I would also receive communications. If you ever want to look up my trail journal, it's trailjournals.com, and you want to look up 2003 in Dutch. So how did this thing work? Well, look, it's amazing how fast technology has changed. The screen is like, it's like an Etch-a-Sketch screen. Here, where's the light on here? This is the difference between light and not light. Light, not light, which is like nothing. But you would go and be able to completely write your trail journal and put an email into here. And I would do that every night. And the keyboard was actually pretty nice. And it still doesn't get cell phone service. So what you did is you went to this thing that we used to have in those days. I know they don't have them now, but believe it or not, there used to be this thing called a payphone. And payphones weren't just where Superman changed his clothes. Payphones would be in every town. And you go and you dial a 1-800 number, and you would actually carry a calling card so that you could call your loved ones when you get to town. And very often when you get to town, the very first payphone, you'd have to wait in line behind different thru hikers. But this is how this works, is you go and you call this 1-800 number and you flip this out, and you actually held this right to the receiver. Actually, I think it's like this with this being the speaker and this being the receiver for your ear, and you hold it against it and you dial the 1-800 number, and it gives you a noise that prompts you to hit this button. And when you hit this button, it sounds like you're logging on to AOL or you're sending a fax. And this is what it's going to sound like. So that would be then sending data to and from, and this was absolutely amazing technology back in 2003. And not very many hikers had this. And then I would be able to read the emails. The emails would often get jumbled just because the quality of those beeps and clicks going over a phone. So I'll have question marks all through my emails or when it would get sent. But that's how I sent my trail journal. And I wrote a darn good trail journal, and I did the entire thing on this little keyboard. So, you know, I really want to hear from you guys. What do you think? First of all, now, obviously, everybody's using Far Out app, so I'm gonna have that. With that, I'm able to not only track my miles and everything, but I'm also gonna be able to see where other people are, because you can put locations for them on there. I have not purchased it yet. When I go down that journey, I'll probably bring you along on that journey. I'm waiting actually until Black Friday because it goes on sale there. So I might buy it before that, but it seems to me like Black Friday gives me enough time to learn it and to use it. It's an amazing app, and from everything that I've seen, you know, you're able to see if water is flowing in more real time than what we have now. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you know, I don't know where technology is going to go in the future, but I bet there's even more amazing things that are going to continue. Maybe air tags are standard, so everybody knows where everybody is. Can't believe I hope we don't get to there. So, do you think these profile maps, do you think they're worth taking? I can tell you, I really used them hard when I was doing my section hikes, and these always remain in my pocket. I believe it will keep my phone off more so that I can just look at this, and I don't believe there's much of a weight penalty on it. Also, where do you think technology is going to go in the future? 20 years from now, what technology is really going to affect something such as long distance hiking? Well, thank you everybody. Keep adventuring. Well, thanks for joining me on that adventure, and be sure to check out some of my other playlists. And of course, check out DutchwareGear.com for some of the greatest hiking gear on the planet. As always, thank you everybody.